and taking a stance.
Metro FM, #real men don't abuse. Making sense. Making sense on the King's Suite.
Now look, the concept of planning or even discussing death is daunting for most of us, but it's something that must be done, especially when you look at the latest mortality data that was released by the SA Medical Research Council. They actually said when compared to previous years, South Africa has about 158,000 excess deaths between May 2020 and May 2021. And that means that more families have had to deal with unexpected loss. And with illnesses like COVID-19 often taking their toll so quickly, it can leave little time for patients to actually get their affairs in order. And this is a good time then, yes, the present, to think of estate planning, to make this tough time easier. To talk us through this and just to jog our minds around it, we're joined on the line by our guest, Hilary Dudley, Managing Director of Fiduciary Services at Wealth Management Specialist Citadel. Welcome, Hilary.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much.
An afternoon to you as well, and thank you for joining us. I'd like to start off just by asking, what exactly is estate planning?
That's a very good question, and I guess the answer in a nutshell is it's the joining of two inevitable things in life. In other words, as you mentioned, death and taxes. And what estate planning is the process in terms of which either a person or their family arranges the transfer of assets to the family, either in anticipation of death or after death, in a way that preserves the maximum amount of wealth for the intended beneficiaries, in other words, the family members. So basically it's the administration and disposition of your assets just before or after death using various legal tools that are available, such as wills.
Hilary, it's Lindy here. Speak to us then about how it's done. I mean, you've spoken about the will. Is that the only way that this can be done, this estate planning? And also, for those who are listening and are wondering, does it only apply for those who have more than one asset? Or if they own one property, are they able to do this?
Lindy, thank you. That's an excellent question. The will is, I would say, the foundation or the building block of an estate plan. And I really recommend that everyone at least have a valid will in place, even if they think they don't have a lot of assets. If you sit and think about it, we all have, for example, a bank account. And so it would be important to have a will to deal with what would happen to that bank account on your death. Yeah. And it's really important that we all have a valid will in place that makes it very clear to whom your assets should go after you die. And it doesn't only apply to people who have a lot of assets or assets of high value. It applies to all of us. And going even beyond the idea of assets, a will can also be used for other things. For example, if you have children under the age of 18, you can use the will to nominate a guardian for your child. So if both you and your partner die, then at least your minor child, it's very clear who will look after them.
Okay. Now, Hilary, I want to find out, does it cost money? And if so, when you're dead, where does this money come from?
So to have a basic will put in place, there are various resources people can use to do that. For example, you can go to your bank or to your financial advisor and they can assist you with drafting a will. There are even resources available where you could do it yourself, but I always recommend that you get someone to assist you with that and get some professional input. And even to go to, for example, an attorney during Wills Week. The Legal Practice Council has a program in around September every year where people can approach attorneys and have a will drafted for free. So there are options where you can have a free will or even a cost-effective will, for example, through the bank. And just to answer the question around where does the money come from, while you're alive and you're having your will prepared, you would pay for it if you're using someone who would charge a fee for that. But then the will implementation is a different angle. That's the administration of your deceased estate. And an executor would charge a fee to wind up an estate and transfer your assets to your heirs. And the money to pay for that comes from the estate itself. So it's not as if the heirs necessarily have to find the money to pay the executor. The assets in your estate would pay the executor to do that work in transferring the assets to your heir.
Hilary, a quick one from me. Now, is estate planning something that a person should start thinking about when they start planning for retirement, for example?
Lindy, no, I would say that's too late. It's a practice you want to start as early as possible. So even when you start your first job, you should be thinking about estate planning and getting a will in place. Although it's never too late to start planning your legacy, I think it's really important to get into the habit as early as possible and start asking yourself important questions around what legacy do you want to leave, how do you want to look after your family, whether it's your children or your parents. To start that whole process as soon as possible and get into a discipline around it, the same as we're disciplined about having, physical health checks and going to the doctor or the dentist. You need to be proactive and plan for your death as early as possible. But that being said, it's never too late to start. So even if someone is nearing retirement and they haven't done it yet, don't be concerned. Start now. Now's a good time to start.
Thank you so much. That's all we have time for here today. We're learning about estate planning from Hilary Dudley, Managing Director of Fiduciary Services at Wealth Management Specialist Sidatel. And I concur with that. Definitely now is the time to start planning in case you haven't.